something that nobody had ever thought that I would want to do, most of all myself. But it kept calling me in some way, shape, or form. What would you say to prepare yourself for Camino? I would say, kind of put all of your preconceived notions behind, and just there is a good app that we, the Camino Society of Ireland, would encourage over all pilgrims to download. It's called Alert Cops. Basically, it was created in 1992 by some dedicated pilgrims who wanted to give something back. They felt the same way. They wanted to give something back to this thing, this entity that had given them so much by walking. The Camino Society of Ireland got special permission from the cathedral in order to confirm, in order to approve walks within Ireland. I can say that I learned lessons on that Camino that I didn't realize for years to come. The year after, I realized, wow, I was preparing for this moment on the Camino and I didn't realize it.
Hello, pilgrims. This is Efrain Mendoza, your host from the Way to Your Wife podcast. And here we have today with us Michelle George. She is part of the Camino Society in Ireland. She's on the group. And we're going to be talking to her with several questions to know what she does. And then also she's living in Galicia, Spain. And she has worked also the Camino. So we're going to be talking to her about that. So welcome, Michelle. How are you doing today?
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. So I believe that you say that you are from Pennsylvania, correct?
Yep, originally from Pennsylvania, yep.
Okay, and how long ago you moved to Europe?
That's a bit of a complicated question. I went to college in Ireland. I moved in 2001, and since then, for pretty much the majority of the time, I've been living in Europe, mainly in Ireland. But then recently, I as you said, I moved to Spain, and I'm living in Galicia now.
Okay. And how have been that change between living in the US and then living in Ireland and Spain?
Oh my goodness, it's lots of different changes. As you can imagine, moving in 2001, in September 2001, that was a big change as an 18-year-old, moving to a different continent with lots of differences, lots of cultural changes. And then again, essentially I grew up there and became an adult there. So I have my core base of being an adult and working professionally in Ireland. And then I moved to Spain here. I moved to Galicia in October, and it's been quite a change as well. Never mind the language, but lots of differences, lots of cultural differences. What time we eat our food, how we eat our food, the types of food that we eat. So there are lots of changes, but all good.
Okay, so that means that if you move into 2001, that was the year that was a really sad history with the Twin Towers. Were you at the time in the US when that happened, or were you already in Europe?
I was supposed to fly the day after it happened. So wow. As you can imagine, it was my flights were delayed. They were delayed by a week. And, there was obviously the heavy impact of what had happened throughout the world. And so that was always there. It influenced an awful lot of everybody's lives, but it definitely influenced mine.
Yeah, it was a really sad moment, all those days and several things that have happened after that on different attacks that have happened all around the world. In the UK, in Spain also happened some. So just to name some of them. Well, so then talking about your experience, you say that you graduated in Ireland, right? What did you do for the college? What career did you do?
I studied languages and the European Union, essentially. So well fitted for then moving on and working kind of internationally for international education. So for the last several years, I've been working in international education, promoting student exchange and student experiences to see outside of their own countries and learn what there is, other things to learn about the world.
Oh, that's really interesting. So then how you get into the Camino? How you get involved with the Camino?
Mm. So like I said, I was the majority of my time was spent in Europe since 2001, but I was living in the States for 5 years, between 2013 and 2018. And when I decided that I was going to move back to Ireland, moves take a long time, and also it's a good time, it's a good period of transition. And so for whatever reasons, for several years prior, I had always heard about this Camino thing and this walking thing, and as somebody who wasn't overly active and wasn't overly in touch with nature, it was something that nobody had ever thought that I would want to do, most of all myself. But it kept calling me in some way, shape, or form. I know it sounds the way that it sounds, but like it was something in me told me I had to do it. And so no better time to do it than when you have a career break. So essentially I ended my job, I put my affairs in order, and then I went and I walked until I was done walking, and then I moved back to Ireland. Before I moved back to Ireland, I had done some research and found out about the Camino Society of Ireland. Okay. And I said, this is definitely something I want to get involved in, because I'm sure, as every single other one of your guests have said, after walking the Camino, there's something that's in you and you want to kind of carry on with that or give something back. And that's when I joined the society.
Okay. And the Camino that you walked at that time, what was that Camino?
It was the Camino Francés. Okay. So I started in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. I walked to Santiago de Compostela, and then onwards then to Finisterre and Muxía. So I had the time. So
you remember how many days it took the whole Camino?
It took me 29 days from Saint-Jean to Santiago, and I didn't take any rest days. For various reasons, I didn't take any rest days. And then onward, then I think it was 4 or 5 more days after one rest day in Santiago, then from to Finisterre, and then on to Muxía then.
Okay. Also, you finished on Finisterre?
Yeah. Okay. Finished. Left my poles behind and said no more.
Okay. So that's nice. And when you were walking, so it was like you imagined that Camino, or you find something different that you were imagining?
It's interesting because, one of the things that if anybody says, what would you say to prepare yourself for Camino? I would say, kind of put all of your preconceived notions behind and just walk. I wasn't an outdoors person. I don't camp. I'm terrified of snakes. I prefer to be clean. There are all of these things that just kept saying, I'm not the type of person to do a Camino. But the moment that I got to Saint-Jean, I said to myself, look, just walk. Just, follow the advice in your pilgrim's guide and just walk. And just, you might meet people, you might not meet people. Just walk and see what comes, because I like to have things organized. I like to know where I'm going to sleep at night. I like to know all of these things. But I was like, nope, I'm giving it all up and seeing what happens. And one thing that I wasn't expecting, people don't believe this, but I'm really quite shy. I hadn't expected to meet people. I'd expected to talk to people, but not to really make friends. But from the very first day, I couldn't not be friendly with the people that I was walking with. And to this day now, some of them are still some of my best friends, which was a big surprise to me.
And you said that it was 2018, right? That you walked.
2018, yeah.
Okay, so that means that 6 years after, you're still friends. So that's really good. So that's part actually of the Camino.
Yeah, that really is. It really is. And I wasn't expecting it at all.
Okay. And then before starting your Camino, how long take to you to be prepared for walking the Camino?
I decided on a day in June after my friend's wedding. I was in Ireland for her wedding. I said, I'm going to walk this. That was June, and I left the States in February to walk it. So however many months that was. Once I bought my boots, I bought my rucksack, and then I trained. I just did my best to prepare myself.
Okay, so about 8 months.
About that, yeah.
Okay. And what factors do you consider the most to start walking? So what do you say, this is something that someone that is going to walk the Camino needs to do?
Those are two different questions. I suppose, what does somebody who's going to walk the question, what do they need to do, is I feel that they need to have shoes that will suit them, that will serve them for while they're walking. So I, not being a hiker at all before, not being somebody used to the outdoors at all, I kind of obsessively tried to follow advice. I bought hiking boots, which were my personal preference, and I read advice. I think that you need to have walked or broken them in for a certain amount of hours. So I obsessively logged my hours to make sure that I had enough seasoned my boots enough to be able to walk, that I was friends with the boots. Like I said, I also practiced with my rucksack and then got some clothes. Something that factored in for me, because I don't want to scare anybody off, but I'm terrified of certain types of wildlife that don't come out in the winter. And for that reason, mainly is is the reason why I walk in the winter. I prefer walking in the cold. And so that's why I booked to walk in February. So I walked in February and March, which was cold, and there was a good bit of snow that year. But for me, it worked. There weren't as many people. There wasn't as much open, but for me, it was the experience that I wanted, I think.
Okay. Yeah, but you are from Pennsylvania as well, and you live in Ireland part of your life, so that's also get to that cold weather.
Yes.
And then, so when you were walking and when you were going through the Pyrenees, at that time, because it was winter time, it was, as you say, that would be dangerous by that time of the year because of the season.
Yeah. So I started walking in at the end of February, but the Napoleon route was closed, full stop, the end. There was no walking over the Pyrenees. So basically there are two different routes that you can walk from Saint-Jean. There's over the Pyrenees, what they call the Napoleon route, and then the Val Carlos route. And you're walking, it's a bit safer. It's a bit safer. Now, having said that, there's still a lot of incline. There's still good views, not from what I hear about the views from over the Napoleon route, but it was still, I said if I could get through the first day, then I could get through the rest of it. And it was a very challenging day that in the end ended in snow and sleet. So I felt it was dangerous enough for me under the conditions that I was prepared to walk in.
Okay. And then another question that I have, being a woman, were you afraid to walk by yourself?
Me personally, no. Okay. I know that there's a lot of chatter, not chatter. I don't want to degrade it. There's a lot of talk about this topic, and it's a very important topic. I myself have never felt compromised as a woman on my own, walking the Camino de Santiago. That's my answer. So no, me personally, no.
Yes, and actually there is a good information online, and there are also books that talk about it. Actually, Andrea Waite is a writer that I recently interviewed in my podcast, and she wrote a book about the Camino. And
very good.
It's on Amazon. I'm gonna look the name to
yes,
tell
please.
here how exactly the name of the book is. Just give me 1 second.
And while you're looking, I know there's a good app. A lot of people like to use apps and use technology while they're walking. That's their own personal decision. But there is a good app that we, the Community Society of Ireland, would encourage all pilgrims to download. It's called Alert Cops. And it's something that's directly connected to, I believe it's the Guardia Civil here in Spain. And essentially it's there to help pilgrims on the Camino if anybody is compromised or feels unsafe while they're on it. So Alert Cops is the name of the app.
Oh, that's really nice information to have. So, pilgrims, that's a good information to have. And just give me 1 second, because I'm going to tell you the name of the book right away. That way,
no bother. No, I'd love to know.
To buy that one would be great. So the name of the book, it is Go Your Own Way, A Practical Guide for Women, from Andrea Waite. And it's on Amazon for anyone that wants to buy that book. And I believe that it's a great resource for women that they are not sure to decide, should I be going to the Camino by myself or should I wait? And actually, my wife just bought it as well because she wanted to read it too.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
At some point, she would like to go by herself to some sections of the Camino.
Very good.
So then you were mentioning also that you belong also to the Camino Ireland Society. What you have been doing there, and how you get into working with them?
So when I moved back to Ireland in 2018, I knew I wanted to somehow get involved and keep it going, keep whatever I was feeling going in some capacity, and I didn't know what that meant. So the Camino Society of Ireland, the CLG, it's essentially it's a society run entirely 100% by volunteers. Basically, it was created in 1992 by some dedicated pilgrims who wanted to give something back. They felt the same way. They wanted to give something back to this thing, this entity that had given them so much by walking. So basically what we do as a society is I'm part of the events committee. And so what we do is we organize monthly walks for members, for people who want to train, for people who simply want to walk, for people who have never walked before and they want to see what it's all about. And a lot of people, come back and they want to talk about it. When you talk about it with your family and your family doesn't understand, they get sick of it. So you want to talk about it with like-minded people. And I find that on those monthly walks, you get a good mixture of people who simply want to talk about it in some capacity. We also organize information days. We have an annual information day in Dublin to talk to people just what's it all about. How can they get involved? How can they walk? Different bits and pieces. We don't offer advice to people, but we do offer information. Okay. And so we have an information center based out of St. James's Church in Dublin 8, which is by St. James's Gate in the center city of Dublin. Most people would know it from Guinness living there. And so essentially it's open during the walking season, Thursdays through Saturdays. Again, run entirely by volunteers who have completed at least one Camino, who are there to talk to people and answer whatever questions they have. So it's really about to give something back. And that was what I was craving, is to somehow get involved. And so I started off as a member, and then they asked me, and then I volunteered at an information day in Cork, and then I moved up to near Dublin, and then I just became more and more involved. So I'm very, very actively involved and don't plan to stop being involved.
Okay, that's really good. And do you have any idea how many pilgrims have gone through since the time that you started collaborating with them and until now?
Oh, no. No. How many pilgrims have walked?
That you have approached to the Camino Society of Ireland.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even want to hazard a guess. Okay. But I know the statistics of the cathedral that the number of Irish walkers just keeps increasing. And those are the number of Irish walkers who get their Compostellas, and not everybody will get their Compostela when they're walking. So it's a very accessible thing for Irish people to do because we're so close. Ireland and Spain are so close, and during the walking season, there are 2 airlines that fly directly from Dublin into Santiago most days of the week.
Okay, so, and by the time that you have been there, have you received any inquiries for any pilgrims from the US that wants to know about information in English?
So, Yeah, absolutely. I know I wouldn't be able to give you statistics, but I do know that we do have members who are based in the US. Okay. And very often, very often, because the information center, because St. James's Church is based so close to the Guinness experience in Dublin, a lot of Americans who would be going to experience, to go to the Guinness experience would see, hey, because there's a sign that says, the Camino starts here, Camino Society of Ireland. People would leave, would come either before or after their trip to Guinness to come and talk to us and say, hey, who are you? What's this about? And so we very, very often would speak to Americans and people from all over the world.
Okay, so can you repeat again your website for the Camino Society? That way people from the US can know what resources they also have beside this podcast that we're having today?
Yep, it's very, very simple. It's caminosociety.ie.
Okay. Yeah, so pilgrims, if you want to know more and learn more from someone that is already in Europe, and the information is going to be also in English, then you are more than welcome to do that connection.
Yeah, we also have a Facebook and Instagram page as well.
Okay, so that's really nice information to have. And then also, I believe that if I'm not incorrectly, that there is a part of the Camino in Ireland that you can also walk, and that counts with your Compostela. Is that correct?
Yes, I will try to. I'll try to speak slowly. I tend to speak quickly, but yes, you're absolutely correct. I can't remember what date it was, what year it was, but essentially, the Camino Society of Ireland got special permission from the cathedral in order to confirm, in order to approve walks within Ireland, approved walks within Ireland that are 25 kilometers or longer. Basically, at the moment, I think there are 9 approved routes which we call Celtic Caminos.
Okay.
So they're Celtic Caminos, 9 approved routes that range from 25 kilometers for a walk up to more than 100 kilometers for the walk. So one nice tidy day to 2 days to 4, 5, 6 days, however many days you want to do it. And basically, if you have your credencial, if you have your Camino, your official passport, you get stamps along most of these routes. And then once you've proven that you've walked at least 25 kilometers or one of these routes, what the Camino Society of Ireland will do is they'll issue a Celtic Camino or a Celtic Compostela. So this is the official document proving that you've walked 25 kilometers in Ireland on an approved route. And so from then, in the kind of the footsteps of Irish ancestors, traditionally, historically, and anciently, what Irish people would do is they would then go by ship to A Coruña in Galicia, and then they would walk from A Coruña down to Santiago de Compostela. And so the current guidelines are you need to walk a minimum 100 kilometers to get your Compostela. So what you can do is you can walk the minimum 25 in Ireland, get your Celtic Compostela, and then walk and continue on to complete your 100 from A Coruña. And that entirety is what we call the Celtic Camino.
Okay. Oh, it's very good information to know. And have you walked any of those Caminos on Ireland?
Yes. Okay. I think maybe I've walked half of them. One of them without knowing beforehand that it was a Celtic Camino. There's one, I'm very, very biased. This is personally my opinion. I can't speak on behalf of the Camino Society of Ireland at all. One of my favorite is called the Boyne Valley Camino. It's very, very well signposted. It's just outside of Dublin. I think it's the limit 70 or so kilometers outside of Dublin. You walk in a circular route of 25 kilometers from Drogheda, and it's amazing. I love it. I think it's fantastic. You see some amazing Irish ruins, some monastery ruins, and it's part of the country that I love. So that's part of it. There's also a route called St. Declan's Way. That's the one that's over 100 kilometers, and that's from the Rock of Cashel down to Ardmore, which is on the water, which is right on the ocean. That's pretty magical as well as a couple of others too. But yes, I have, to answer your question.
Okay, that's really nice. And then those Caminos are very well signed, like the one that from Santiago.
The Boyne Valley Camino is. It absolutely is. It's very, very well signposted. But one thing that you have to know is that all of these approved routes are run entirely by the locals who maintain them. So the Boyne Valley Camino is run by a group of very, very passionate people in Drogheda who have done their very, very best to signpost it, get all of the planning permission and everything for it. A lot of people will say, why aren't you signposting more things? And the simple answer is that you need an awful lot of permission to do that. And it's an awful lot of bureaucracy to go and paint something on public property. So not all of them are as well signposted as one would like. But again, it's up to the local authorities and the local groups to do that. So we try to support where we can, but it's not something that we have control of, if that makes sense.
Okay, and those Caminos, the ones that are 25 kilometers, how long it takes to someone to walk one of those Caminos? 1 day, 2 days?
The 25 kilometer one, there's only one. The Boyne Valley Camino is 25 kilometers, and I walked that with a group of students last summer, and I think it comfortably took us about 6 hours with a nice long lunch break. Okay. But that, for that particular one, there are lovely places to stop along the way. So you could take it handy, you could take it slowly if you wanted to, or you could go fast if you wanted to. Okay,
so you have restaurants or bars along the way?
Yeah, there are facilities along the ways that I know. There would be facilities along the way. In the Boyne Valley, yes, there's also our Bray coastal route, which goes from Bray in County Wicklow all along the coast, and then you go in through the city, and then you end up in St. James's Church. Okay. And that has a lot of facilities along the way. that route also has two of the official way markers that you'd see along the Camino de Santiago.
Oh, it's nice.
And so that's something really kind of popular and really exciting for pilgrims. For people who didn't know about it beforehand, they stop and they go, well, I know that. Why is that here? Why is that here in County Wicklow? So that's something of that. It's exciting for people to see. Every time I see it, I still get excited.
That's nice. You just mentioned also that you just were in one of the Caminos with a group of students. How big was that group?
Oh, that was a small group of students. I think we had 12 students in the end. And that was just me working in my day job. I was a little bit overzealous about doing it. And I had the 12 students, they were passionate, but they, at the end of it, they were like, you didn't tell us how many miles 25 kilometers were. And I'm like, you're college students, you should know.
Okay. Oh, so those were college students.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and do you know about, beside the college student, have you heard about also high school students that walk also sections of the Camino? Have you heard about that?
I'm certain that it happens. I'm certain that it happens, but I wouldn't have any personal knowledge of it.
Okay, because what I remember, the last Camino that I did last year, the Camino Francés, it was also a group of students, and probably they were about, I don't know, like 50 students, probably from around the 10th grade, between 10 and 11th grade. And they were having so much fun walking the Camino.
Oh, very good. Oh, that's them.
And they were
they
like, I believe like 4 or 5 teachers that went with them. And they were doing fantastic as well.
Were they from the States or were they Spanish or?
They were from Spain, actually.
Okay, yeah. Yes. When I was doing my Camino Francés from Sarria and it was close to Easter time. So from Sarria, I think every school group in Spain started from Sarria that exact day that we started. It was quite muddy at the time, so it was the first day of a lot of them. They were all nice and squeaky clean and didn't want to get muddy, and we were just like splashing past them through the mud.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, like you have seen, the Camino is for everyone.
Yep, absolutely everyone.
And everyone enjoys that experience. And you have walked the Camino, and that you are being also helping on the Camino Society. What would you say the Camino have made in you, in your actual life?
Many things to be honest. So from my first Camino in 2018, as I said, I was kind of going to make a big transition, moving back from the States to Ireland, and I can say that I learned lessons on that Camino that I didn't realize for years to come. The year after, I realized, wow, I was preparing for this moment on the Camino and I didn't realize it. And I kind of had those moments, for several years thereafter going, I learned that, or I prepared for that, or that, this is all coming to not to a head, but it's experiences and lessons that I've learned that I didn't realize just keep showing themselves. So for me, that's a great impact that was had. And then also, I'm currently one of those statistics who met my partner while walking on the Camino. Which has brought me here to live in Spain today. So that's obviously definitely had a huge impact in my life too.
Okay, yeah, that's correct. And because you experienced a long time working in what's a corporate environment where you work?
It was a university environment.
University environment. Well, working into that university environment, what would you say that what would be the reason that someone may need to walk the Camino for have very, very relationship on his work or her work when they return back? What would you say that would be?
I think walking really gives you a lot of time to kind of compress and just kind of get any frustrations out of your system and to just think about things and put a lot of things into perspective. So I think any kind of corporate environment in any way, shape, or form has a lot of stressors that puts a lot of stress on their employees for various reasons, naturally or unnaturally. And I think, you know, walking can just give people a lot of perspective to either go back and make a big change, or go back, make a change in yourself and go in with a different attitude, or realize that maybe this isn't really for me. So you go in and make an even bigger change.
Okay. And then when someone experiences the Camino, that corporate person that go to the Camino, would you think that person, when return back, could influence or may influence on his or her team to be more productive?
To be more productive, I think that, you know, if they're inclined, you know, coming back after the Camino, you want to kind of promote the positivity that you've learned in one way or another. And, you know, that positivity can manifest itself in different ways. So productivity, potentially, but it just depends. Everything depends on everything. It depends on the work environment. It depends on the managers. It depends on everything. So in theory, I can say absolutely yes, but in practice, I think it depends on too many other factors to say definitively 100% yes.
Yeah, there are too many factors, but probably if there are too many factors, a person can do another Camino, and then it increases the positivity every time.
Or
so
encourage other people to do the Camino, and then everybody can feel the positivity and hopefully have a group positive change.
Yes. I was talking the other day with one of the interviews, the person that did the interview, and he was saying that if every leader in the world walked the Camino, there were more positiveness in the world, and there were less violence in the world as well.
Yeah, I would 100% support that idea. Absolutely.
So, well, we are getting to the end of our conversation today. Anything else that you would like to add to recommend to everyone that wants to walk the Camino?
I would say just do it. You know, just go and do it. Like I said, I wasn't at all the type of person that would be the person that anybody would think would go and do it. And if you want to do it, do it. That's it. Make it happen.
Yes, because sometimes people put that on the bucket list, but did not decide to do it. Oh, this is something that can wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then years are happening, and then you are not taking that decision. So.
Yep. Exactly. Just do it. Go and make it happen. The world is smaller every day. It's easier and easier to do these things. So hopefully you just make the decision. Just go and do it.
Yes. Well, Michelle, thank you very much for your conversation today, and pilgrims. So thank you for watching us today, and please remember always to include your comments on the comment sections. That way we know what other chapter we should be recording. And buen camino, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and buen camino, everyone.
Okay.